Hey guys, Omar is alive and wanted everyone to know that he's here because you
And,
haven't seen him in like a month.
and I'm not AI, I promise.
I don't know about that. We'll
Well,
see. What's
it's
the
debatable.
criteria for? No, I'm just kidding. But there's
Hmm.
still filings that are coming out on the docket. So there's one we're gonna look at first, though. But before we like run through this, I guess one of the things that we could talk about is what is a lot of people probably won't know what like how do you pronounce it? Voir dire,
What dear?
voir dire. I always used to say voir dire, yeah, but I don't
What
know.
dear? I don't
I've heard a
know.
lot.
I'm, I have heard some funky pronunciations from really intelligent people that should know
Yeah.
how to pronounce it. So I honestly don't know how you're officially supposed to
Okay.
pronounce it. I just say voir dire. That's what I learned.
So we have a lot of this stuff like jury instructions, voir dire, that kind of thing coming out, voir dire. And can you explain what the voir dire is to people?
Yeah, it's just before you begin the whole trial process, you have to go about the business of picking fair and impartial jurors. And so they have jury instructions. They get together and they select all of their questions that they're going to ask the jurors. And the court usually has like 10 basic boilerplate stuff. So, where do you live? What do you do for a living? Have you ever
Mm.
served a jury? Do you know anybody involved in this case? That kind of stuff. And then the attorneys get to go up and ask the jurors questions. So, have you ever been a victim of sexual assault? What do you think of Blake Lively? What do you think of celebrity culture? What do you think about the Me Too movement? They get to ask whatever they want within reason, and
Hmm.
they usually conference that with the judge. And then the process of going through voir dire is literally the process of selecting jurors that are going to sit on this jury.
Yeah.
And when they do that, it can take days, or it could literally take 5 minutes. Um, in law school, there was a whole class that I didn't take, but it was available that went over the basis of how to pick potential jurors. Like, what's the psychology behind it? Do we have to have focus groups? Do we have to have like hypnotists come in and like figure out or just read the body language of potential jurors and see who's going to be more fair to your side or not? The truth is, having done this for 12 years, there's no science, man. There's nothing reliable. You get the jury that you get. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you pick jurors that you think are going to be on your side, and they are the farthest thing from your side. Like, for example, I'm certain that if I would have saw Lauren Neidigh in my jury pool, I'd be like, oh, yeah, she's 100% going to be on the defense side. And then little would I know, she's like, fuck that guy. And I'm dead in the water before the trial even starts. That's happened to me before. When you just get the wrong read of a juror because you literally got 5 minutes to sit with them
Hmm.
and observe them, for however long voir dire goes
Yeah.
on. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's what voir dire is in a nutshell.
No, you're good. So one more thing that I wanted to have people understand is what is a motion in limine. I know I've heard you explain this before in the context of Laura Owens stuff, but in the
Yeah,
context of this, I think a lot of people don't know.
it's just
Uh,
preaching emotions. And so, like, for example, we just had 13 causes of action, 10 of which were eradicated by the motion for summary judgment.
mhm.
Now, that cuts in to a lot of what is going to be considered admissible evidence. I'm certain, and I haven't seen any of the motions in limine because they just came out,
We're about to take a
but
look.
some of them are probably going to deal with whether or not some of the evidence or testimony related to sexual harassment, whether or not those questions are going to be allowed or not. Because are we talking about relevant evidence? Are we talking about evidence that shouldn't come in because that's not really a cause of action in the case? How much of that gets in as a result of the smear campaign stuff, the retaliation stuff? And if you say that we can't get into specific questions about sexual harassment, well, what if they open the door? And what would the context be? And so it really just is a way to set the ground rules for the attorneys that are going to be litigating this case, that everybody agrees on and everybody's put on notice before trial starts so nobody goes out of bounds. And we're hit with these wild objections, and they're removing the jury so that the attorneys and the judge could argue
Mhm.
about the rules. That's essentially what it is. We're just making sure we know what is in play before the trial starts.
Give me 1 second. Sorry, I was typing real quick. Um,
I got a feeling that I was saying all of that and you were not listening at all.
no, I totally was until the very last second there because somebody asked me a question. So I was just trying to put that out there. Somebody asked me if I was going to the trial, and I am going, but I started a Give Send Go to help with costs because it's supposed to be 15 days. I said it's going to be approximately 15 days, and there's no way I can pay for all that by myself.
Yo, 15 days for the trial?
That's the approximated, yeah. But the thing is, one thing I didn't tell you before we started the stream was they did a renewed motion for judgment on the pleadings as to like tag Wayfarer and It Ends With Us for the retaliation claim. It was something based on FIHA where they're saying like that shouldn't apply, and so it's possible that this will narrow it down just to the contract claim.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we're not going to look at that tonight just because there's a high volume of stuff we're going to have to get to. But that is, it's looking like that could kind of knock out a huge part of what's going on here. I'm looking at, so you were just explaining the motion in limine, and I'm looking at here. She's filed a couple, and one of them I see she has a list of 1 through 8 here. One of them is to exclude the testimony of Kirsty Flaw. I don't know if you've ever met Kirsty. I was able to have a sit down with her a little while ago. She's the reporter who did that interview with Blake, the little bump interview, where it's kind of infamous now.
From
she's
like
the Norwegian reporter, yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously I've never met her, but I'm aware of that.
Well, she's also a YouTuber covering this case, so I didn't know if you'd ever talked to her or not, but I know she was on Ask Two Lawyers, and then I had her on once, so she's...
I'm not nearly as famous as you, Warren. I swear, like, you know, everybody in the YouTube, what's the word, sphere? in the YouTube circle, you seem to be comprehensively available to all YouTubers. I'm aware of them all and have met them all.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some maybe. Okay.
Sort of, kind of, a little bit.
Anyways, I'm just looking at some other stuff she's listed here. Just in her, there's a lot of stuff that's still loading onto the docket, guys. So, but this just came up, and so I wanted to look at that really quick. And this is just a list of her motions that haven't even loaded onto the thing yet, but she wants to exclude character evidence and lay opinion concerning Miss Lively's reputation, which, okay, that's kind of a big one, I feel like, because her reputation, I feel like isn't that pretty relevant to whether or not the criticism was organic?
Well, you can't generally introduce opinion or character evidence, but for very limited circumstances. And so they're just saying improper character evidence. In other words, we're not just going to bring in a bunch of people to shitstorm on Blake Lively about what a C word she is. It has to be relevant to causes of action. You know, it has to meet all of the exceptions. Yeah. The exceptions are written into the federal statute. And so they're just basically putting on notice that, look, enough, be careful with character stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. Yeah. We're not going to give you free reign to attack our client. If you're going to bring up character evidence, then let's set the ground rules under which circumstance that's going to apply, when you're going to ask those questions, and on what context. Because if we're going outside of that, then we're going to object, and we should just get this right away in the motions in limine. Because if you bring it up after these motions in limine, we can move for sanctions, we can move for a directed verdict, we can move for a mistrial, we can move for a lot of things. And so they're just saying that, look, character evidence is going to be a thing. So let's understand the ground rules, because it's inevitably going to come up.
Well, that's just something that I immediately saw and was like, what are they going to do about that? Because like a lot of their defense is going to hinge on the fact that they say, you know, she had organic criticism because of her bad reputation, and B, because she continued to kind of worsen her reputation over that time period, which led to this, which she alleges is a smear campaign, but what they allege is like an organic pile-on by fandom culture, I guess.
Well, specifically when you're talking about like a sexual harassment, sexual assault, like it's a really common tactic to go into the character of the person that is making the allegations. And so I have an inkling that one of Brian Friedman's points that he wants to hit on cross-examination is her character for making these frivolous allegations, her high sensitivity to stupid shit. There's a way to get that in without introducing character evidence. He just basically has to say, so you considered it sexual harassment because somebody showed you a birthing video, and just like go in and rely on the ridiculousness of the claims and trust that the jury is going to pick up on that. But what he can't do is like, isn't it true that you have that it's well known in the industry that you're a little bit of a panty waste when it comes to having a thick skin? Isn't it true that, I mean, you have a certain sensibility when it comes to, I don't know. I went straight, I pulled that straight out of the 30s.
Yeah.
Panty waste.
I see here we have evidence related to the Van Zandt subpoena she wants to exclude. The Van Zandt subpoena, I think you've kind of said it at this point. I'm not sure how relevant it's going to be as far as the trial goes. I mean, obviously, you know, it seems egregious and terrible to all of us, and like obviously, it seems like an abuse of the system. However, and going into this trial, I'm not sure how relevant it's going to be to their defense against like saying this was organic criticism versus not. I don't know if that's going to really be a factor.
Well, I'll tell you what, back when it happened, I mean, I had the same. The only reason I thought that Van Zandt would be relevant would be for the exclusion of certain evidence that was obtained through the illegal subpoena. That never came to fruition. They never brought a motion for that to deal with it, probably because it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
And if you look at the remaining causes of action, who cares, right?
Well, a lot of this behind the scenes, like shady Van Zandt stuff, is going to come out probably in the Jones trial.
Well, that would be an appropriate place to put it, but like in the Lively trial, like what are we going to do? So you had a fake shell corporation for the purpose of like generating false evidence or getting or for laundering evidence.
Most of the stuff that they laundered, I guess, evidence-wise, though, came out in discovery anyways, so I'm not sure they can really do anything about that right now.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, back then I was saying the whole evidence laundering thing just for the prospect of they obtained evidence that they wouldn't normally be privy to because they created a shell corporation and filed a Doe complaint to get subpoena power and subpoenaed a phone that they wouldn't have the ability to do unless they did this very shady thing. So therefore, they give a color of whatever.
I mean, it's hooked up and like people need to know how they operate, and that that people are getting away with that, and that's something that I think it's important to draw attention to from a social perspective, because then, you know, people in courts can be treated like that all the time if you never talk about it. But like, as far as the trial goes, yeah, it's kind of well, I mean, at this point on this trial.
I could conceive of a situation where it may be relevant, just not to the point where it's not so prejudicial. You know, if a jury finds out that they're doing shady stuff like that, it's going to detract from the causes of action. That's like textbook not relevant to these proceedings. So I can understand why that's a motion in limine.
Well, you know, I have a limited understanding to like how what's allowed and what's not. So that's kind of why I'm like looking through this and I'm like, what do you mean? Immediately, what do you mean on some of these numbers here? Like with the nice pool thing here. So like the nice pool portrayal of Deadpool and Wolverine, they want to preclude that. And if you on the face of that, my first initial reaction is, well, that was more related to Justin Baldoni's claim, so why would they put that there? But then I also remember now that they have to show that they were defending themselves in this crisis PR strategy they had, and that it wasn't a retaliation for her report of sexual harassment. And so Deadpool and Wolverine, that coming out before, if that came out before, I don't remember.
You got to be careful with defending yourself, though, because defending yourself, there's defending yourself and then there's acting in retaliation. Right. And it's very easy to blur the lines between defending yourself and retaliating against. I'm not sure of how they would use that to Baldoni's benefit.
Because if they were openly mocking him, I guess, in this film and trying to hurt his reputation, I guess that then they could say that their PR strategy was in response to stuff like that, rather than, you know, retaliation for her report of sexual harassment.
Do they get into their actual arguments? Because I gotta understand like where they're.
We don't have that yet. Yeah, we don't have it yet. This is the only thing that's come up. It's just this bare bones kind of.
So these hasn't been argued out. They want any mention of it out. I don't know.
There's going to be a document that puts this out, but it's just not loaded yet.
I'll tell you what. I just thinking, as a Wayfarer attorney, I'm not sure that I would give a shit about bringing in the nice pool stuff about, you know, them not liking Justin Baldoni or making fun of him or whatever, because it gives rise to a jury developing in their minds a motivation for them to smear Lively and her husband and that whole side. Maybe
smear campaigns are legal, though. You can smear somebody, that's legal. But what would be illegal is smearing them because they reported sexual harassment. So they're trying to establish that even if they did smear her, they did it for other reasons, and this
Hmm.
would be another reason, I guess is my line of thinking.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to see the arguments. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not so sure that that Friedman is going to give care all that much if the judge were to grant number 3.
Nah.
Just because I don't think it's going to be that highlighted in his defense when they go to trial. But maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe he's got another plan for it.
Sure. So is this all stuff that they would have planned on bringing forth? Is that why they're filing like to exclude these things, or are they just assuming based on stuff that came out in discovery?
Well, you never get to know. I mean, I'm sure they filed trial briefs or have at least previewed what their theory of the cases are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're aware. I mean, of course, they're aware of all the discovery that's done, but you never know specifically what the other side is going to do. Like, look, one of the strategies that attorneys employ is we throw the kitchen sink. You know, we throw thousands of pages of stuff and multiple theories of the case. And we've argued over 13 different causes of action. You have no idea what we're relying on or what we're focused on or what we believe is red herrings or what we believe is our best theory of the case. And so it's still unpredictable. And so when you see a motion in limine, what you're trying to exclude is things that you believe are going to be prejudicial to your client at trial. So this is lively thinking that if some of the nice pull stuff or dead pull stuff comes in, it's going to be bad for her because it's going to, necessarily unduly prejudice the jury against her and Ryan Reynolds, which maybe that's true. The other side of that, just strategically thinking, is Friedman telling Justin that the other side of that is maybe that gives rise to an enhanced motivation to smear her at the first hint of the sexual harassment complaint, which is inevitably going to come in somehow. It has to. If we're talking about retaliation and smear campaigns, I don't see how we get around mentioning anything about the sexual harassment stuff. It has to come in at some point. And so it's nuanced. It's very nuanced. And honestly, it could go very wrong, the nice pool stuff. I would tend to stay away from it unless I had a reason to defend against it. I just don't think you need to go there to do what they need to do to win this case. But they might have other ideas.
Yeah. All right. I'm just looking. So I was just refreshing while you were talking there. We found this joint pretrial order. I'm going to skip over to this. Just because some of the stuff like the financial status, the net worth, that stuff is like not, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of not that important.
Oh, nobody cares.
No. All right. So this is their joint pretrial filing. So what is this going to talk about, I guess?
So joint pretrial filings is, and some jurisdictions don't do it this way. Like there'll be, but some jurisdictions do. They'll require a joint document where both sides have to agree on certain aspects of the case. Basically, here's what we agree on, and here's what we disagree on. Lively's position is this, and Baldoni's position is that. And so the judge has a clear understanding of what to expect at trial and where the issues lie. And the fact that they're doing joint like this, I hate when judges make me do that. I prefer to write my own trial brief.
Right.
I could frame it without having help from anybody, but they were forced to work together and put this together for the judge, so the judge understands what to expect at trial. And what you could take from this is it's kind of a roadmap of what is going to be addressed at the trial.
Okay.
And so the general
how set in stone is this? Because they just put out a letter regarding some exhibits that she just dropped on them at like 10 o'clock this morning, basically. So like, how set in stone is this? Are they allowed to edit based on?
Well, here it's think of it this way. It's the game plan, right?
Okay.
But sometimes you game plan and then your top player goes down with a knee injury and now you're playing without your star player and you got to come up with a completely different game plan on the fly. This is, as of today's date, what we believe this trial is about. But you have to understand that litigation is a fluid thing, that these trials are fluid things and they change on a dime. They could change on a single word uttered by a controversial witness at any time. And so this is the plan. But if something arises at trial that switches up the plan, hey, that's fair game. The point of this is it gives everybody a preview of what to expect. However, with the caveat that anything could happen. How about that?
All right. So we'll kind of skim through this. I don't really want to read the whole.
I feel like this wine is not having an effect on me.
Well,
what kind of wine is this? Is this like what is this? What are we drinking? All right.
What was the
it just seems fruitier than it should be. It feels like a wine cooler-ish type of wine. I don't know, man.
Okay.
This is not what's called for on a Friday night.
Well, so this, I'm gonna hide my face now because this is like very much white on my laptop screen, is hurting my face.
And I'm gonna hide my face. How about that?
Yeah, so I can dim my lights. I don't think anybody needs to see my facial reactions to this. It's gonna be
my facial reactions.
Pretty uninspired. All right, let's see. So they're talking about the claims here for Miss Lively, of course, the retaliation in violation of FIHA, the claim for retaliation and breach of protections for return to production.
Can we start over? I'm completely zoned out. I have no idea what you just said.
I'm just talking about her claims. So she got the 2 retaliation claims there.
I got you. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Continue.
Miss Lively will show that she complained about or otherwise opposed hostile work environment, sexual harassment at multiple points in time, including the filing of her administrative complaint in December 2024. Okay, that was a CRD, right? Miss Lively will also show that Wayfarer and It Ends With Us movie anticipated that she would engage in further protected activity in response to and or in an effort to interfere with or inhibit her ability to engage in said protected activity. They unlawfully retaliated by seeking to undermine her character and professional reputation, discouraging and obstructing her ability to complain about the hostile work environment, attacking her professional reputation, including but not limited to by orchestrating a smear campaign against her in the press and on social media, which included painting Miss Lively as a bully, tone deaf, and a mean girl, and the source of friction on set, threatening and or attempting to intimidate Miss Lively and third parties, and filing a frivolous and legally improper retaliatory lawsuit against Miss Lively and her husband. The retaliation inflicted significant damage to Miss Lively's professional reputation and career prospects. And then we have the aiding and abetting against Tag for allegedly aiding and abetting that. So she's saying that they interfered with or inhibited her ability to engage in protected activity or further protected activity. What would the further protected activity be?
Wait, say that again?
So they're saying that they wanted to interfere with her ability to engage in protected activity. But I'm like, what is the protected activity that they allegedly interfered with? That's
a good question. I mean, as far as I'm aware, everything that I've read has pointed to they somehow infringed upon her rights as a woman to have a major role in the workplace, to make executive decisions, that they didn't take her seriously, that they...
Well, that clearly didn't happen. But yeah.
I know. Well, that's what it's ridiculous to me because we know what happened, but they're saying that every time that she was treated a certain way and shut down, all of her ideas were shut down and she was dismissed and disregarded because she's a woman. That's my understanding from, going through a year of pleadings with this lady.
Right.
I don't know what other protected activity, other than if she's alluding to filing complaints against Justin, that would be a protected activity. But we don't have sexual harassment complaints anymore. And she didn't lodge an HR complaint, which would also be a protected activity.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're getting to the heart of, this is where we're getting into, so what was the retaliation for? Well, it was for making complaints against Justin. Well, how did you make those complaints? Well, I didn't make any complaints. What do you mean you didn't make any complaints? Well, I filed a lawsuit where I alleged sexual harassment, but that was, well, you can't talk about that, right? Now we're getting some of the motions in limine stuff. This is why we have motions in limine. How are we going to address the fact that sexual harassment is the underlying complaint under all of this, and it's no longer relevant on the merits of this trial? And so protected activity, when she says that, I think FIHA, I think Title VII. Mm-hmm. Both of those are making allegations of sexual harassment. That's First Amendment protected. Right. I couldn't, for the life of me, come up with any other protected activity that she could possibly be talking about.
That's what I'm like. What do you mean they interfered with your ability to engage in protected activity? The protected activity that she alleged was it was long past. I don't know what she means by that, but
Yeah.
okay, maybe we'll find out. All right. So aiding and abetting, we kind of understand that tag. They allege that tag aided and abetted in the smear campaign. Breach of contract. Says it ends with us movie breached the protections agreement. That 17-point list.
By the
And
way, those 1,000 pages of documents that was released, when was it, like a week ago, a couple of weeks ago, whenever that was?
oh god, that was a while back.
Do we know yet what was the scope of those documents? What was that about?
The thousands of pages on the. Wait a minute. What are you talking about
There
exactly?
was 1,000 pages of the exhibit dump that you were just alluding to. Where like
Oh,
1,000 pages
no,
of
the 1,000 exhibits is like they were saying that she's dumped 1,000 exhibits on them, and they don't know what she's actually going to use at trial.
well, that's so that's what I was kind of getting at earlier. Is one of those tactics is I'm going to hit you with 88 potential exhibits,
Yeah.
but I only plan to use 3.
Right.
And so they're like, bro.
Yeah. Well, so they put up a letter tonight that said, Blake had hit them with some more exhibits this morning that they couldn't access until 10 a.m. because she gave them a faulty link. And then apparently some of those exhibits are like pictures of her and Taylor Swift, and then an article about Taylor Swift's cookie recipe. And it's like, what does this have to do with your trial?
Yeah.
So,
well, I could tell you what the judge is likely to rule is that look, I'm just gonna assume that images you're not like largely gonna be shocked by. I don't think it's devastating to your case. I don't think that there's any image that's going to throw you off your game so far as to interfere with your case in chief. So if you think that there's an image that's not relevant, you could object, and I'll rule on it in the moment. But I'm not just gonna rule that 1,000 images or exhibits are inadmissible because you don't like it. If it came out in the course of litigation, it's fair game. But it's true. And here's the other secret to that. Look, there's lots of different strategies. One of them is the document dump. That's clearly what Lively's going for. The other is I don't have any exhibits. I'm just going to ask her a bunch of questions. And when she lies, I'm going to impeach her with things that I know that she's going to lie about. Like, for example, I know for a fact that Planned Parenthood is not open on Sundays. Well, I'm not going to make that an exhibit. I'm just going to ask the person, were you at Planned Parenthood on Sunday in LA County? When she says yes, I will raise an exhibit. Oh, I'm showing the witness what is not a marked exhibit, but it has been, it happens to be a schedule of the Planned Parenthood that plainly shows that they're not open on Sundays. Isn't it true that what you're looking at, and then you go through the whole process, and then you make the witness explain themselves? It's called impeachment evidence. And so that's one way to go about it. I know nobody asked me that question. I'm just trying to like highlight that, look, some people have thousands of exhibits. Some people have no exhibits. I know attorneys that straight up will never have exhibits because everything that they want to do is impeachment, and they'll just go about it that way. And so it really doesn't matter. Like, you can never just go by the fact that, oh, there's only one exhibit or 2 exhibits or no exhibits, that they don't have much of a case. No, you can't assume that. You have to assume that that there's a game plan behind it and that they're going to try to catch you in some stuff. You have to be overtly prepared. This is like a large part of the anxiety of preparing for a trial. It's why these trials are so, they say that attorneys have the highest instances of substance abuse, alcoholism, drug use. Part of it is because the anxiety of being a trial is, look, the trial is going to happen and it's going to be over in somewhere between 1 to 15 days. And when it's over, it's going to go by so fast and it'll be over in a flash. And then, hey, guess what? We're not talking about Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni anymore. It's over.
So when it's over, do they substance abuse with like the shitty wine that you're drinking, or?
Oh no, the substance abuse is happening right now, if at all. I mean, well, I'm not assuming, I'm not insinuating anybody's abusing substances. I'm just saying that
what exactly you're saying here? Make clear allegations, very specifically, please.
all I'm saying is,
Cassidy, if you want to come in here with us, you can.
Cassidy, I feel like you should come in just because it's Friday night and this isn't really a prepared stream. It's not,
it's not structured. All right, let's see. Do you remember this? She's talking about the pending motions here. Do you remember the motion for spoliation sanctions? You remember what that is?
Yeah.
a hot minute, and I didn't know. So he hasn't ruled on that yet. But they were saying that they, use this platform Signal that auto deletes messages, and they didn't turn off the auto delete.
Yeah, I remember.
So they deleted evidence that would have proved the smear campaign, which is like I don't know. The judge obviously hasn't ruled on this yet.
That might come out in trial, honestly. They might ask questions specifically about those Signal communications, and when it comes to pass out a testimony that those messages were destroyed, I'd imagine he'd have a lot
The
of.
thing is, like, they don't have any sort of evidence to suggest that there were actually messages that got deleted, I guess, related to her claims of and like that's where I'm a little shaky on the details because I feel like this motion was brought so long ago. I remember they talked about it in the hearing I went to, but I don't really remember everything that they said about it. I remember that they were saying you have to prove if you were like really punitive sanctions, you have to prove that something was deleted that wasn't supposed to be deleted. Versus the judge can advise the jury of something different that's less punitive.
So my guess is the reason that came about. I didn't read this. I don't remember the specifics.
It's been a while.
Yeah. But it was like they requested communications through an app, and they were told that they don't exist. And there's no effing way that they don't exist because I know for a fact they were communicating off this app, and they was like, no, they weren't. And so then one of the ways to get that out is just straight up ask them on the witness stand. We're going to have a whole trial. And if it comes to pass at trial that it's obvious that spoliation occurred, then I'm sure the judge will have everything he needs to rule on after the fact.
And I think Cassidy will be able to, I'm sending her the link now. Cassidy will be able to give us
she's coming in?
A refresh. Yeah. A better refresh.
Right. Well, tell her the rule is you can't be 0.00 if you're going to come in on this string.
You can. You can.
You gotta be at least. Well, right, fine.
I don't even know what to say with that.
Well, you gotta be at least 0.01. You gotta have a drink. You gotta have, a little bit of lubrication on a Friday night.
Just like kombucha or something. I don't know if you need to.
My wife totally has some kombucha. You know who likes kombucha? My daughter.
Oh, what's going on?
Hey,
what's up, Cassidy?
Hey, we were just talking about how much Omar doesn't remember.
Wait, hey, I brought an echo, didn't I? Oh,
you always bring an echo. We're having a very unserious stream.
There we go. Yeah, sorry, because I was still listening to you guys on YouTube. So
we were talking about the spoliation sanctions, and I was trying to explain what exactly they were saying. The evidence that they allegedly deleted. Do you remember what exactly they said was supposed to support their claims that was missing, or did they just never really explain that one?
They basically didn't say it ever existed. They're just like, well, it could have existed. I think it had mostly to do with Signal, because they were like, well,
Right.
well, Signal automatically delete. So there was evidence in there. We just can't get to it. It's so stupid. There was nothing reasonable about it. It was just like them saying that they had used Signal, therefore all of the evidence was deleted, and so she should get sanctions. And part of the sanctions were she wanted Judge Limine to say that the jury had to believe the evidence was there. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was such a humongous ask. I remember just dying laughing when I read it. Like there's no, you're not going to find a judge that is going to allow this.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the defendant's defenses now, and so I'm going to scroll down here to where it says retaliation. It says they're talking about how they're going to defend themselves. It says Miss Lively cannot prove the elements required to establish retaliation under FIHA against It Ends With Us movie and Wayfarer Studios, this is what they just filed a renewed motion for judgment on the pleadings for, isn't it?
Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely. Yeah, both the pleadings and the summary judgment were delightful.
Can you I'm not good at summarizing things, but if you could explain it to Omar as best as you can without us going on a tangent, because I was just telling him about this
side quest. So what am I explaining? What those filings were?
The renewed motion for judgment on the pleadings with these claims.
Yeah. Basically, he was like, "Okay, this is what FIHA is for, and how can you eliminate? How can you say that this California, the harassment doesn't exist But then this retaliation is so, no, I'm saying it all wrong.
Yeah.
Let me look at it again, because I'm blending it with like my own personal feelings about it that I thought as I read it.
That's
Can
all
we
good.
just okay? Let's start with the basics. So this renewed motion for who's bringing the motion and
Wayfarer.
Wayfarer, and they want retaliation out.
They want
Right.
retaliation out. So this will leave,
Gotcha.
all it will leave is the 17-point questionable list, because it's not even like legal terminology. How do you instruct a jury based on what rules, what jury instructions are you going to ask a jury to rule on whether
got a
or not
point.
Wayfarer changed their attitude or became sarcastic?
I'll give you my thoughts on it. This is what I think. They kind of have a point. It's like, look, we got rid of all the Title VII claims and all the FEHA claims related to sexual harassment. You let retaliation go. But the problem with retaliation is she's basing it on sexual harassment claims, that she was raising these sexual harassment issues, and therefore they retaliated against her. Well, similar to count 6, which was dismissed because count 3 got dismissed. Count 6 required. Yeah, count 6 required that they needed a sexual harassment, underlying sexual harassment claim. Otherwise, it can't stand. Similarly, if we're going to let retaliation stand, the reason for the retaliation was the sexual harassment claim. If you don't have a sexual harassment claim, then why are we defending against retaliation? We can't even talk about it, which is what I 100%, there's merit in that argument. I also understand the judge keeping it in, but 100% logically, it shouldn't be in if there's not going to be a surviving underlying SH claim. I get that.
Yeah. And here the point that they used are what FEHA covers, it prohibits stuff from the California Code of Law.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do? Are you going to say that any action committed in any other state, if somebody did something in California, that all of it can come under FEHA? Like they make a good point of saying, if you rule like this, you're setting precedent that has a chilling effect. And I mean, it was beautifully argued. I might be blending the summary judgment together with the pleadings.
Yeah,
But
I got to read the argument because, well, the way they understand it is the only reason that the retaliation claim got to stay in was because the conduct that spurred on retaliation originated in California. And but for that, there's no reason to keep it. It wasn't because, the employee thing didn't matter. The employee independent contractor thing didn't matter. It was that the conduct originated in California is what they're arguing. But the conduct of sexual harassment, though, that's what they're claiming, right? If there's no claim,
yeah.
It's just if there's no surviving SH claim, it's logical that retaliation should not stand.
Yeah, that's what I said from the very beginning. But my other point was, the reason he said that he kept it in is because he said the retaliation conduct came out of California. But they're claiming that the retaliation happened because of Jed Wallace, who was not in California. He was in Texas. So what exactly are you tying to California? Because everything that happened before Jen Abel
That's a good question, Cassidy. What is the thing that happened in California that originated this?
Because the main stuff happened, like that led to all of this, the retaliation claim, was when Stephanie Jones was still in charge, and she was acting things that Wayfarer told her not to do, stop doing, and she did it anyway. And those were the actual triggers. Stephanie Jones is from New York. Jen Abel was her California person, and that was not anything Jen Abel did.
Hey, this is a detour. I know this is a detour. I know that. And Cassidy's saying making a very serious argument.
I was just ranting. I'm sorry. I was on mute and I was ranting.
But I have to deal with Dima's question. She says, Ryan Reynolds has a fancy box wine specifically made for the state of Minnesota. Somebody accused me of drinking, or asked me if I was drinking Ryan Reynolds wine. I was like, no. Like, what even is that? But I will say this. I am not opposed to a good box wine. I will say this. I haven't had box wine since I was in college, but I'm also not above like a good $6 bottle of wine. like at a funeral or something, or like at a Christmas. I don't know, man. You know what? Ignore me. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna put myself on mute.
No, it's okay.
Oh,
So Spotlight Shift is asking about Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel in California. Yeah, they're in California, but here's the thing, like most of the accusations about a smear campaign and bots and all of that is all stuff that they said that Jed Wallace did. And that Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan, like when they were trying to tie Jed Wallace back in, like to keep him in the case, Blake did everything in her might to bring it all to New York. And so now it's kind of crazy that once Jed Wallace was dismissed from the case, now all of a sudden it's all back in California again, and or for the first time. And so, but they even, like, they talked about when they were trying to keep Jed Wallace, they're like, well, Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan hired Jed Wallace from New York when they were in New York doing promotional work and stuff. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, all of this conduct happened in California. But like
hey,
the trigger,
I don't know if you're aware of this, Cassidy, but somebody sent a private text message in California about birthing Miss Lively into the role. So she's
yeah,
gonna win the case.
wow, I missed that. That is so compelling. Here was me thinking Blue Jean Baby, New York Lady was the most riveting piece of evidence, but you just outdid it with that.
Could we just plan down like what they're talking about when Judge Lyman says that the thing that spurred on retaliation originated in California? What in the hell are they talking about?
Wait, what?
So the reason why the retaliation claim stays in is because the retaliation originated in California.
Yeah, that's why he kept it in.
Right. But I'm confused as to what the origin story is then.
That's what I don't understand. I didn't get that far when I was going through the order, because like I was going through and picking up stuff that I pick on, like the 17-point list, and the judge ruling that one of the many things was that Blake signed up. Now these are arguments that her attorneys didn't even make themselves. He came up with these arguments, just like he did with the other motion to dismiss when he dismissed all of Wayfarer's counterclaims against everybody else. He argued something that her attorneys never argued, and he said, well, the offer letter said 6 consecutive weeks, and her weeks got split up. So was she even obligated to come back? And here's the thing. I made a calendar, and I'm like, first of all, the strike happened the middle of July is when the actual shutdown happened. That was long after her 6 consecutive weeks would have been done. The strike did not disrupt it. There was a couple of days of disruption, but it was still going. They were still filming. They call Blake to come back during those 6 consecutive weeks that he's so stuck on and making such a fine point of. They're like, Blake, come back. We get to continue filming. And she's like, oh, sorry, I made plans to go to England. And she just takes off. And so they're sitting there and they're like, well, we're supposed to be filming. So what they have to do, because she's in England, not being Lady Deadpool, but or Lady Pool, whatever. So, which is more insulting. I thought of that the other day. I'm like, that's even more insulting that he didn't let her be Lady Pool, like her body be Lady Pool, only her voice, because she was physically there when this was happening, which is so insulting. Anyway, that's a Cassidy side quest. Let me come back to what I was saying. If I can remember now. So yeah, so he on the 15th, she's not supposed to be finished till the 23rd, and that's giving her a 7th week because she missed the first week. The first week was supposed to film in Vegas. That was going to be them getting married and them on their honeymoon, but it was the intimate scene. And she's like, well, I just had a baby. I need more time. Can we put it at the end? He's like, no, there's too many things scheduled already. And so she just calls off. And so they completely miss filming any Vegas at all. So she takes up the first of the 6 weeks. So it gets postponed. Now it's going to be finished on June 23rd. And then there was a little bit of squabbling going on about the strike, but it was not like a shutdown yet. They missed a couple of days. So on the 15th, they're like, we can go back to filming. Can, Blake come back to work? And she's like, no, sorry, I made plans to go to England. And she up and leaves the last 2 weeks that would have been of her 6 weeks. So she is the reason that 6 consecutive weeks didn't happen. If she had stayed there and given them 6 consecutive weeks, it would have been completely filmed long before the strike. The strike starts July 14th, a month after she has left the set, just absolutely left. And Judge Lyman sitting here going, well, the strike interrupted her 6 consecutive weeks, so she wasn't even obligated to return. And I'm like, you moron, when you make a ruling like this, you are now telling people that they have court case law out there to say, well, not really case law, but precedent to say that a strike can destroy your contract. If a strike happens in the middle of your contract, you don't have to go back. It's over. Judge Lyman said so in his ruling on the Blake Lively case.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me. So yeah, I was going through the order and like finding little things like that I was just like really, and I don't expect you to comment on this, Omar, because I'm talking about a federal judge. But yeah, so I was going through and like picking out the stuff, and that was going to be like what I was coming up to, but I hadn't quite gotten to it yet about these FIHA claims, because he left this in there because he said, because the conduct occurred in California. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Because it all started with Stephanie Jones. In August, she realized Jennifer Abel's leaving. Jennifer had turned in her notice. She gave her like something like 6 weeks notice. And so she's like desperate to keep Wayfarer. So she's like, well, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to this. And then she goes and does a bunch of stupid things. And then they're like, sit down and shut up, Stephanie. We'll pay you to just sit on your hands and tape your mouth and shut up. And so, but that was the catalyst. It was what Stephanie Jones did that leaked back to Leslie Sloan. And they're like, oh, we had this agreement that nobody was going to talk without the others. But now Stephanie Jones did. And that's what got Leslie Sloan on the war path. But Stephanie Jones is out of New York, not California. Then what did Jennifer Abel do? Jennifer Abel's like, this is beyond what I can do. We need Jed Wallace. And so hires Jed Wallace. And sorry, guys, I've just gone off.
It's okay. It's okay.
And then Jed Wallace takes over from Texas. So what California conduct are you even talking about to try to keep this retaliation claim in there? Anyway, okay, I'm done.
No, that's all. I mean, that was a lot, but no, I think I understand what you mean.
That was a couple of mouthfuls, man. I did not bring that energy for a Friday night live stream.
A mealy argument.
Well, somebody had to.
I think that was actually
we're not ready. Omar and I were not ready.
Cassidy.
Opposite of mealy. That was crispy.
Literally, me and Lauren were like, hey, I have not prepared anything. He's like, yeah, it's going to be a relaxed stream. And then Cassidy comes on bringing all this fire. He's like, well, shit. I'm not ready for all that.
Yeah. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, so we just went over this kind of stuff with the FIHA claims where they're trying to establish that she didn't prove the elements required to establish retaliation. It says Lively did not oppose conduct that she reasonably and in good faith believed to be discriminatory. Rather, she used her experience on set as a cudgel for control over the film. In addition, no aspect of Miss Lively's employment changed for the worse after any of the alleged protected activity. Miss Lively cannot establish that defendants' public relations efforts were linked to protected activity, were substantially motivated by discriminatory intent, or were the proximate cause of her alleged damages. Her argument that defendants retaliated against her because they anticipated she might engage in further protected activity does not make out a viable claim as a matter of law. Okay. Defendants' public relations efforts and countersuit are not actionable as retaliation because they were undertaken as reasonable defensive measures in response to Lively's own efforts to destroy defendants' reputations and careers. Right. As the court noted, to be sure, much of what Lively complains about is not actionable. Defendants were entitled to 1. Engage PR and crisis management specialists to protect their reputations. 2. Prepare responses to the protection letter and the accusations that it implied, including the right to assert that the claims were untrue or misconstrued, and that Lively could not be credited, and the right to convey why Lively's account could not be trusted. And 3. Use proxies, both disclosed and undisclosed, to defend him or herself. Then they talk about the aiding and abetting and stuff.
I can't put Ellen's comment up, but Ellen summarized it perfectly. Where she starts off with WP argument. What was that? a Wayfarer party. Oh, I always put WF Wayfarer. Yeah, that's it, Omar. That's it right there.
Wait, what? Oh, is that
It's-
because
yeah.
the alleged harassment happened in New Jersey and Blake Lives, a New York resident? She was never protected under FEHA, which means that she can't sue for retaliation under California. Yeah, but the reason why retaliation stands in New York is because the judge said in the motion for summary judgment ruling that the conduct that was retaliated against originated in California. And what I'm failing to identify is what in the hell the judge is talking about.
Mm-hmm. It was another moment like the motion to dismiss. I felt like I wanted you and Rachel to cover it because I loved what you guys said when you talked about.
I just talked to Rachel today, as a matter of fact.
You did? What about?
Yeah, she called me out of the blue. Oh, all kinds of stuff. But she called me out of the blue, and we didn't talk about Blake Lively case. I'll tell you that much. But me and her were on the same page with the 12B6 ruling. That was like, what in the hell is Judge Lyman doing? Treating this like a motion for summary judgment. He's literally arguing their case for them, which was above and beyond. We both thought that the thing was appealable.
I think that's the first video I saw of the two of you.
Oh, was that right? It was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. I was definitely impressed.
I was genuinely nervous for that one because
why is nobody else saying this? Sorry.
No, I remember that stream really well because I was genuinely nervous because I'd never met Rachel Juarez before, and she's like this judge on the hot bench. And,
yeah,
judge on the hot bench.
Well, that's her show, right? Emmy award winning.
I'm sorry, I've just seen her do too many things that are just like, I don't know, like cringy mom like for me to think of her as like judge on the hot bench.
Well, back then, I mean, she's like a Ivy League educated on the hot bench, all of these accolades or whatever. And so I was genuinely nervous during that stream because it was the first time I ever met her. But since then, we've tried a case together or worked on a case together. We're co-counsel on the case. I know her a lot better now. And so I don't have the same level. I still have the same level of reverence, but not nearly the same level of nervousness. How about that?
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
But we were on the same page when it came to that 12B6 motion. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Judge on a hot bench? Totally.
Judge on a hot bench? Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that's technically what it is, isn't it? No, she's I totally know what you mean though. She was super intimidating for a while, and now I'm just like, wow, you're so lame. No, I love her. She's amazing. But she's funny though. I had she came on last week to talk about the ruling with me briefly. And it was really nice of her to do that because she was very busy with her family. Was all out there in Connecticut watching. Well, at least Avery, her daughter, was out there watching her film, and I think her whole family was out there at some point. I don't know if they were just visiting family or if they were all there to watch her film. But I went to see Dave's comedy show out there as well, and she was doing. I think it was the first week of filming of her new season, and she was really sick. But still working long days, so I was glad I got to see her for a minute.
Oh, cool.
I ain't seen Lauren in a while. Lauren, I ain't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't been out to LA in a minute.
There was a point in time where I was seeing you a lot, and now I haven't seen you at all.
I know, dude. I was out in California so many times. I think
every weekend practically.
A couple times a month, actually, for a while, and then I slowed down for a bit. I had some personal stuff going on, so I had to slow down.
I remember my girl's like, "Hey, Dad, what does she say?"
Which time? When you and your kids ask if I was a boy or a girl, or a different time?
That was like, "Hey, Lauren, are you a boy or a girl?" You're like, Lauren was like,
well, it wasn't quite like that. It was more like, are you a boy or a girl? There's a video of that somewhere. And then I asked Rachel's kid when she was filming with me last week, I was like, "What do you think of my hair?" She goes, "It's a little boyish." I was like, "Well, I asked, so I can't, I didn't ask."
Oh, Omar, guess where
Yeah.
Mandy is right now?
Guess for who?
Mandy?
Man,
Guess where she is right now? It's so
in her
funny.
backyard.
Nope. Peru.
Oh shit. Of course she is. Good for her, man. I really hope it's because of what you said on our last stream.
It's gotta be. Like within 24 hours, she was gone.
That's amazing. Good for her.
Yeah, because she posted, she's like, I can't deal with this. I'm leaving this country. And I was like, no way. It can't be. And then she posted on the plane a little bit later, and she's like, this is the first time I've crossed the equator. And I'm like, oh, I told my husband, I'm like, I think she went to Peru. I'm like, well, she could have gone to Australia or anywhere else in South America. But I know she crossed the equator. And then she posted on her stories today, and I saw the background. She's like, guess where I am? And I knew it was Lima. I'm like, that's because I've been there. Like, I don't know if I don't know if she said that.
My wife really wants to go to Peru. She wants to go to Machu Picchu.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love Peru.
She's been telling me that.
The beach isn't nice and beachy though. It's a gravel beach. It's not sand.
Somehow that seems cleaner than a sand beach.
Yeah, it does seem a little cleaner, but there's a bunch of broken shells in it too. So like of course, I like always have to step in water, like even if I can't like actually swim at the time, because it was too cold to swim. But I was like, okay, I've at least got to get my feet in there. And my husband's like, I'm not going down there with you, because it was like this slope. And so I'm like, fine, but I'm gonna go.
There's
And
jellyfish in there.
like I painted my toenails special for this. So I go, to get a picture of it, So I go and I get in the water, and it's like sloping down. It's fine, it's all good. And then okay, I have my fun. And then I turn around and I realize just how high the slope is. And like walking down, it didn't hurt, but when you're walking up, your feet kind of slide. And so it's not just the gravel, it's all these millions of broken shells, because the birds come and just like start like eating the mussels out of the shells, and they bust them up. So it's like glass. I was sure that my feet were going to be bleeding when I got to the top. They weren't though. But man, I was like, I'm looking up at him. He seems so far away. I'm like, what have I done? I'm just going to be stuck here forever. And
Rachel was trying to comment, but she didn't know that she wasn't on YouTube, and that's why she couldn't figure it out.
Oh, hey, Rachel.
I'm not really sure what that means or what you would be doing.
Wait, Rachel's here. Rachel.
Yeah.
She
Rachel Ward. What's up, Rachel?
Yeah, you can see because of the wrench next to her name. I don't think she knows what that means, but I gave her one because she was complaining that she didn't have one.
Do I also have a wrench?
You do.
I'm going to be jealous if I don't have a wrench.
Hey, so I'm just thinking about how many comments I'm going to get later because we're talking about random shit and not.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Not talking about the stuff we talked about.
Now you know.
What's up?
You shouldn't have given me the link. Now you know.
Oh my God, it's too.
Yo, when Cassidy jumps on a link, she's got something to say, man. You just gotta be aware that she's coming in to say something.
Let me ask you a real stupid question. It says failure to mitigate damages here, and that's something that they're going to argue about. What does that mean?
It means that if they're bringing a cause of action, they're arguing that they incurred damages because of whatever it is that they did. And failure to mitigate damages means that they didn't have to suffer as much damages as they had when they knew that there was something wrong. They could have taken steps to prevent damages. In a nutshell, that's basically what it is. In other words, like you breached a contract, like the contractor was supposed to put on the roof. He didn't put on the roof, and you didn't bother to find somebody else to fix it. And you let it go for like 6, 7, 8 months, and you incurred massive water damage that caused you to have to redo the entire foundation of the home. And then you want those damages. They're going to argue that you failed to mitigate damages. Like he broke the contract 8 months ago, and you didn't do anything to fix it for 8 months. And now you want the damage that ensued from all of that. That's your fault, buddy. In a nutshell, that's what mitigating damages means.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. they said the length of the trial was supposed to be about 15 days, or at least that's what Wayfarer said in the letter when they complained about the Taylor Swift cookie thing. Let's see. The case
Rachel
will
has
be
a better
tried-
explanation for mitigating damages, by the way.
What's up?
Rachel has a better explanation for mitigating damages.
Well, why
We come-
Rachel should be here explaining it to us, but she's probably like doing something else. But she's welcome anytime. Here's the hot bench explanation of failure to mitigate. If you're a landlord and your tenant, okay, I'm gonna mock her relentlessly later for using the wrong your. And your tenant breaks a lease, you have to try to release the space. You can't just sit and leave the place empty. Okay.
That is another.
Oh, she tried to correct it. It's too late. It's too late. It's over. You're a clown. You're a clown.
Oh, Rachel.
Yeah. Okay. So she thinks it's going to be a 15-day trial. They think it's going to be fewer days than that, because the summary judgment order substantially narrowed the number of causes. And so Blake and her attorneys are saying like this doesn't really like cut things down much at all. I can't imagine like why does this need to go for 15 days?
I'd imagine they probably had that estimate back when this was a 13-count cause of action trial. I can't imagine this going 15 days based on the 3 causes of action that exist.
Well, they have asserted that they don't think anything is going to change, that it's still going to be 15 days. They still need 1,000 exhibits, including Taylor Swift's cookie recipe. So I don't know.
Hey, maybe not. I don't see it. I'm calling it 6 to 7 days max. Court days.
That would be way easier on my life.
6 to 7.
I'm done here. We're like leaving. Good night.
10,
we're out. We're out of here. I don't ever want to hear Omar say 6, 7 again.
Hey, did I tell you my daughter said about the Canadian flag?
No.
So they had like this the whole ring of flags in Cabo. Were we in Cabo? What was it? Where were we at for vacation? Cabo? Cancun. We're in Cancun.
Why don't you know where you were?
It's one of the seas. I confused. Never mind. She said, "Look."
Confused?
She said, "Look, Mom, it's the American flag for syrup."
What?
That's what she said.
Isn't that adorable? Like the Canadian
And then I was
flag.
like, what syrup bottle has a Canadian flag on it? I was really thinking.
I don't know. I think of maple syrup when I think of Canada.
Yep.
I think of hockey. I think of the Canadians, the Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto. I don't know. Never mind.
All right. Well, we're not on you anymore, so let's move through this a little bit.
All right.
Okay. The plaintiff's proposed statement of the case is the case arises from Ms. Lively's claim she experienced retaliation for complaining about or opposing what she. I don't need to hear more about this. Okay, so we're gonna move on. I've heard that so many times. All right.
Yeah.
People, places, and institutions likely to be mentioned. Okay. People. Let's see. Jennifer Abel, Andrea. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna go through all these people. If I see anybody interesting that I wouldn't expect, I'll point them out. Scooter Braun. I guess I don't know why he would be brought up early. That's mostly related to the publicist stuff in the Jones case. I don't know. We have Kirsty here, of course, who is Blake is trying to exclude her testimony. So
Her name is Kirsty. It's not Kirsty.
No, it's Kirsty. I keep calling her Shasti, and I'm like, we've been friends for a year, and I've been pronouncing her name wrong. I'm like, my God.
Yeah, I called her Kirsty for a long time, and I'm like, it's Kirsty.
You know what? If you smell your name like that, you can't get mad when somebody mispronounces it.
Right.
Well, it's not her fault. But no, I think it's like Kirsty. But
Yeah.
I can't say it totally right. But I'm doing my best here. Anyways, let's see. I don't know if there's any other unexpected names here that I really recognize.
Richard Marx. Oh no, they spelled different. I'm like Richard Marx. Wasn't he that old singer from Dirty
If somebody
Dancing?
likes your hair, Lauren, although every time I
Different
see your hair, I think that it's totally gay.
Sorry, what was that?
I think that your hair is gay.
My
Somebody
hair
else
is gay.
really likes your hair.
The rest of myself is as well. So I mean, I don't know what else to say to that. Anyways, yeah, I don't. Who's Tatiana Siegel? You guys know?
That just caught my eye. I'm like, what kind of name?
Who's Tatiana Siegel?
I don't know.
Never heard that one.
Okay.
I've heard the name. I don't know who she is.
Sage Steele. I know Sage Steele is a reporter.
YouTuber,
They'll probably
yeah.
bring that up. I heard her name come up in the January hearing where they were trying to suggest that she has something to do with the spoliation sanctions, but it seemed to me that she was just a regular person asking for media comment and working on a story with them, like people do with celebrities PR. So I don't really know what they're gonna try to get out of her, but okay. And then there's the institutions, of course, the businesses. I'm not gonna fuck with that.
You know what's missing is all of her Hollywood friends.
Yeah, well, that's true. Except for Taylor, I think is on here somewhere. Yeah, Taylor's right there.
What are they going to come in to say though? Like, I mean, unless they were on the set.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what they would have that would be relevant to the case.
Well, I was thinking at least like, well, Ben Affleck never responded, so but like,
Bummer.
like he didn't even pick up so that he could hang up. But
that would be my move. Seriously, I'm
what
going
you
everybody.
know, Matt Damon and his wife, they actively got involved in that situation.
That's right. And then Bradley Cooper as well.
Mm-hmm. And Gigi
Yeah.
Who's Gigi?
Hadid.
Oh
You
my
know, there's a movie called Gigi that my grandma made me watch in 1950. It was made in 1950. It's a musical.
Moving on.
There's a whole story behind it. I'll tell you some other time.
Here's something I need to ask you about. Plaintiff maintains that Brian Friedman and his law firm should be included in the list of people, places, and things likely to be mentioned because he and/or they are authors or recipients of relevant and admissible communications that she intends to rely on at trial. What exactly?
Is she trying to say that Brian Friedman and a crew should be listed as potential witnesses?
Maybe. I don't know. I was going to ask you.
What could he possibly? Because he got cleared of like the statements that he made, like the sanctions. So what is she talking about?
She's just previewing that she believes that Brian Friedman, Liner Friedman, they should be included in a list of people because and places and things likely to be mentioned because he and or authors or recipients of relevant and admissible communication that Miss Lively intends to rely on at trial. Just like they may become witnesses on that. I'm reading that and just they should be on notice that some of this evidence is necessarily going to involve their communications, which is a big deal because they're also trying the case. In other words, they could potentially be called to testify.
Eliminate them as like from being able to work the actual trial.
It's always a weird thing when an attorney is called as a witness in the trial that he's litigating. There is, in some cases, conflicts of interest with that. And it's always a striking thing for a jury to see the counselor, the attorney, the guy trying the case, and all of a sudden he's sitting there on the witness stand. It's like a blurring effect. And so what they're highlighting is it's possible, it is conceivable, based on plaintiff's theory of the case, they had Brian Friedman and Liner Friedman. Who's Liner Friedman, by the way? Is that his brother?
No, that's his law firm.
That's the law firm.
It's called Liner Friedman. They should be included on the list.
Brother?
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know who Liner is. I didn't know the name of his law firm, genuinely. But to me, I'm reading that as they may become potential witnesses in this case at some point, given a specific set of circumstances.
Yeah, I just can't imagine, like, what communications did he have that weren't protected, like privileged?
Well, they would be, I'd imagine, communications that related to a smear campaign. I just don't know what that would be. And he probably has a better idea. I guarantee he has an idea of exactly what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, any communications that could conceivably be tied to a coordinated effort to smear Blake Lively's reputation. And Friedman was involved. Well, isn't it true that he was involved like back in 23 with this case?
No.
Early 24? Or
Yeah,
am I
it was
misremembering?
we hired him in 24.
Yeah, like July of 24, wasn't it?
Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about the Flores case. Sorry, I zoned out for a second. Were we talking about the one where he
No.
was what are we talking about here?
Doesn't the retaliation timeline span from 23 until basically the end of 24?
Oh, I thought you were talking about his involvement with
I think
the.
she
But he was involved necessarily in the in the public relations aspect, sort of indirectly.
I mean,
Like
they
back in
reached
July,
out to
June.
him because they were thinking they might need legal counsel, but he wasn't like involved.
Yeah,
yeah, it
so
was like a
I don't know
lawsuit
specifically what they're talking about, but they're previewing that it's conceivable that they could become
Well,
witnesses.
remember, she said that the smear campaign was ongoing and that she tried to suggest that he was a part of it from after the lawsuit was filed and that he's part of the smear campaign.
Okay, well that
And
makes sense,
the judge kind of called bullshit on that, though.
Mhm.
maybe, but also it's well within their right to try to put on their case, you know. So unless the judge specifically rules it out, I don't know when is the arguments due on the motions for in limine. Do they have a briefing schedule?
Next week, right?
So we'll find out a lot more now. Right now we're just previewing what it is they're going to be arguing about.
I
It's
mean,
gonna
the
be,
motions in limine are up, but the responses to them are due next week.
well, that's
Yeah,
what I'm, yeah, I'm
they
curious
were
about what
they were
the,
due today, and the response is on the 17th. Is that what it is?
oh, do we
Yeah,
have,
we're hitting tonight. Yeah, there's some out there already.
all right, well we should,
Yeah, I just I don't have the mental fortitude to go over them tonight
Yeah,
because I have to
a lot of stuff hit tonight. I mean, we're up to 1327 now.
Yeah, there's like dozens and dozens of stuff that just came
Yeah,
out.
and
So
bunches of them are sealed again.
you know, there was a time where I made an endeavor to like try to download all the stuff off the docket. That ended
Mhm.
like in February of 2025 or whatever. Like, yeah, this ain't happening. This is dumb. Oh, but anyway, Lauren is dedicated.
I had hoped to see something about Van Zandt in the motions in Lemonade, but they've not. I didn't see any,
Well,
even in Jennifer
Blake
Abel.
Blake wants to exclude any evidence related to Van Zandt. I don't know if that's. I mean, it'll be one of her filings. I haven't seen that one yet. I saw the list of 1 through 8 that she was trying to exclude. Van Zandt was number 2.
I should make an
Oh.
observation. Because there's been 1,327 filings, you should understand that if you're trying to use AI to help you figure out what this case is all about, AI has been completely wrong about this case more than any other case
Yeah.
that I've seen out there. And I think that part of the problem is that
It's too much
AI
to
is,
do.
yeah, you're limited in how many tokens it could go back and like access. And so it can only hold so much information and hold on to so much context. And so it loses things like as we carry on. So if you were to try to throw questions into AI, it's going to deceive you because it's not going to have any idea what happened like back in January, February, March, whatever. And so just, you know, one of the limitations for now that AI has in terms of legal analysis.
I don't use AI for this shit, so I don't know, man.
Mhm. No, there's been a bunch of studies about how absolutely awful it is. Actually,
AI is garbage.
I
When it comes to
always
stuff like
repost them on X.
It's really annoying because I think I was making a 47.1 argument and they're like, well, ChatGPT says that.
this. ChatGPT is dumb.
Okay, well, ChatGPT is wrong. How about that?
It is, yeah. They've actually proven that it's wrong so much of the time, and they feel like it's being deceptive. Like there's these creepy studies out there right now. I repost them on X every time I see one because I hate it.
Yeah, it's just I'm seeing it more and more. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when somebody brings me an AI argument, an
Mhm.
AI legal argument. It's like, idiot. Like AI is pandering to you. Like it
Yes.
takes your objective and it creates a fictitious argument.
Guys, I'm gonna start emailing Omar AI arguments from an anonymous persona.
I just feel so much because my clients bring me, well, I AI'd this and this is what it says. Like, yeah, that's stupid because of this. It didn't take into account this because you didn't know to tell it about that.
Yeah.
And now you got a false sense of security because ChatGPT or whatever Claude that you're using told you that you were good. I didn't have all the information.
They said one of the things it's doing is because like you can give it a thumbs up when you like the answer, or you can give it a thumbs down. And people like to be told that they're right, even if they're wrong. And so they
Yeah.
keep thumbs upping the answers that they like. And so it's learning from the experiences that it's having. Like it's still learning as it's growing, and it's learning to lie to people and it takes in, here's the thing, like it takes in information from everywhere on the internet, even from really bad untruthful things, and it can't distinguish it. It's like, well, it said over here on Reddit that blah blah blah, and so then it puts it out to you as fact, and people don't understand that
Mhm.
it's not always right.
Right.
There's this channel that does analysis of different AI responses to like political questions. And it did an experiment where it asked Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini and Truth Social AI the same question. And then the questions, the answers coming from Truth Social, which is Trump's social media version of X, was like, yeah, Trump is going to win the midterms because the Republicans are the greatest and Trump is Jesus Christ and he's the greatest president and they've done all of these things, and all of these other AI platforms were giving like these more pragmatic responses. And it's like, wow, it has been trained to like hold Trump's talking points as like absolute truth. And so if you go to Trump AI or Truth Social AI, it gives you like these distorted messages that are just making shit up, as opposed to like other regular stuff. I'm just saying.
I did a test myself. Oh, go ahead. Were you not finished?
No, I was just illustrating the point about how AI is literally trained to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah. I had this guy arguing with me on X. I actually blocked Grok because I got so sick of seeing it. And this guy came along and he like finds the anti-Blake people and like picks fights. And his way of fighting is like you post something and he'll come under your comment and go and he'll ask Grok a question.
Wait, what's his name?
I can't remember. I haven't seen him in a while.
Is it Ritus?
Scared him off. But he kept doing that to me and I'm like, how many times do I have to tell you? I can't see what Grok says because I have it blocked. If you want to fight me, you're gonna have to fight me in your own, from your own brain. But he, was just fun. So then he starts like copying and pasting from Grok so that I'll see the arguments. And I'm like, you're so wrong. And I would tell him why he was wrong. And then so I don't have the Chat GPT app, but I have Microsoft Office Suite and it has this thing called Pilot, which is, I guess, like it. I don't know. So I'm like, I'm going to do a test just to show people. And so I was asking it different questions and I asked something about the sanctions that Lively had filed and the motion for sanctions. And it told me that she won. It told me the date, the document number, and the amount of money that the judge had given her.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, I think you're wrong. Because I was like, I know this case. I know that didn't come through. I would have known that. That would have been a huge deal. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. And it's like giving me all this information over and over again. The docket number. So I look in the docket number of the one it said it was, and it was a totally different document. So I bring it back and post it on there. I'm like, this is the docket something. And it's still fighting with me that she won. Yeah, it was crazy. So I showed it on one of my lives. I'm like, you guys, you cannot rely on this stuff. Yeah. But
all right, we'll go through these witness lists, and then I'll probably call it a night after that because it's 1:20 here where I am. These are the plaintiff's witness list. Of course, Blake Lively is on there. We have Ryan Reynolds. I do have a quick question about Ryan Reynolds being on here. So if she calls Ryan as a witness, does that mean that Justin's side is able to ask him questions as well?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Any witness.
I thought so, but I've only, most of the trials I've watched have been on TV. So.
Naturally.
Yeah, if you bring a witness, the other side gets a go at him too. Like you can't keep one just for yourself.
All right. You got Justin, Jamie, Melissa, Jen, Steve. None of these people are too surprising in the beginning. Katie, these tag people, Katie, Katie Case, Brianna Butler. Then Blake lists Isabella Ferrer, Jenny Slates. I don't think that these people are going to be too happy about having to testify if I had to guess, but I mean, if she succeeds in like getting to use them at trial, if the exclusion from the request to exclude them from Wayfarer doesn't succeed, then, I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
It's going to be about misconduct related to the film, defendant response to workplace complaints, promotion, marketing the film, retaliation, mislives, damages. That's why Slate's coming in, Isabella, for the same thing, misconduct related to the film. I don't know.
Thing is, the misconduct related to the film, they're saying like a lot of the stuff, and you would have to read the motion in limine that we don't have time for tonight, to understand, I guess, a lot of the arguments they're making for some of these people, which is that like the things that Isabella says in retrospect that she didn't like on the set, there are things that Blake Lively didn't even know about when she brought her claims, and so
Yeah.
that's one of
The
these things.
7 women thing.
right. There's like
Oh,
seven. There's this whole 7 women thing when it's like women who, in retrospect, are saying, "I wanted to be the director and he didn't let me," or Colleen saying, "I wanted X, Y, Z and he didn't let me," and Isabella saying, in retrospect, "Well, he said that I should lick a spoon, and yeah, it's in the book, but you know, whatever."
What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know that reference, I really don't want to relive it.
Do not.
Anyways,
Cool. I don't need it. I don't need it.
okay.
I'm good.
Leslie Sloan, of course, the publicist, is
That's
live.
gonna
I
be
guess they're
gonna
designating Jen and Steve, like we said, for deposition, not live. The rest of these guys are live so far. Lizzie Talbot, the intimacy coordinator, would be deposition designated testimony. We went through her whole, like not her whole deposition, but most of her deposition. We went through that. Kevin Alexander, who is that? Is that her driver?
Oh,
Who is that?
maybe, yeah.
Trying to remember. Yeah.
I think so.
So
then
as far as regarding harassing statements made by Mr. Baldoni to Miss Lively, the sexual harassment claims have been thrown out, so I'm not sure how relevant his testimony would be.
No, what would he have?
They're going to have to deal with that issue. Yeah.
It would be hearsay. Is that hearsay?
No, it's not hearsay. It's just,
Well,
I don't know. I don't know what they're
his
going to,
testimony would be that he overheard somebody talking about something
In
that
the
Mr.
car.
Baldoni said to Miss Lively, and so that's kind of hearsay, isn't it?
I mean, they'll
No,
get that
Are
in
you talking
under.
about the driver?
Yeah.
He said that Justin was in the car and he
He
heard.
said he directly heard him. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
remember the intimate details of some of these dumb.
but that was all like sexual harassment. None of that was retaliation.
I don't remember some of these outside
yeah.
claims.
They're going to have to deal with what to do that there's not a sexual harassment cause of action claim, which was the source of the retaliation.
Yeah.
I am of the opinion that the renewed motion for judgment on the pleadings is correct. I mean, I don't see how you get a retaliation cause of action to stand without the underlying sexual harassment cause of action. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
But here we are. But if you're gonna do it, I mean, that's problematic for the trial because somebody's gonna have to open the door to it, and that means that necessarily maybe Blake's gonna have to open the door to that somehow, and they're gonna want to have to go through that door. I mean, it's simple, but it's complicated. It's complicated, but it's simple.
Yeah, well, like Vivian and Anne, that's her makeup and hair ladies. That's all sexual harassment stuff. That's about Jamie coming into the makeup trailer. Like, why are they still here?
Well, looks like
but I don't think. So here's the question though: Does Friedman object to any reference to sexually harassing statements
I
on
don't
the
think we've
grounds that it's prejudicial to Justin, or does he let it in so that he can slam Lively on cross-examination with the ridiculousness of those allegations?
Yeah,
that's trial strategy, and I'm guarantee they're going back and forth on what they should do in that situation right now.
He might want it opened up.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why I thought that maybe they don't do an MSJ because they don't want the sexual harassment out because they could ream Lively's ass on cross-exam because of those allegations. Now, if she opens the doors, they can still conceivably do that, but they certainly do have the option.
But doesn't it have to be them that opens it up?
No, Lively could do it.
Could intentionally do it. Like,
it seems like they're trying to introduce witnesses to testify to sexually harassing statements. That opens the door. So if they want to do that, the question becomes, do we object to these references or do we let them in to open the door so we can attack her credibility? That's the dilemma. And they're going to have to decide which is the best course.
Oh yeah, to let her get on there and impeach herself would be amazing.
Yeah. Or at least face scrutiny on the stand in front of the jury to destroy her credibility. That's a dream scenario to me if I'm
Yeah.
Friedman.
Yeah.
And I'm gauging that off of just previewing her deposition testimony. Just the small bit that was released, she wasn't coming off great on those depositions. And so just strategically, they may not object if they open the door, I guess is the point.
Well, I mean, even in her complaints, her stories have had to change because, like, as more evidence was coming out in discovery, or like the leaking of the dance video, like she had to, even from way back then, she had to start changing her story.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren, are you asleep? You got like
No, but I gotta start running through a little bit. So I'll finish their witness list and then I'll kind of save the rest for tomorrow because I'm gonna have to go to bed soon, unfortunately. But it says Stephanie Jones is gonna be testifying live. Let's see, we have Alex Sachs, Vivian Baker, and Carol Colleen Hoover, Josh Greenstein. These guys are not gonna show up to testify. So those are all by deposition. Let's see, Justin Gray Stone is live. Jed Wallace is not going to show up. Everybody knows Jed Wallace is not going to show up.
Yeah.
Liz Plank is agreeing, I guess, and Claire Ayub would agree to testify live. Those two are stupid as hell, though, because they have nothing to do with anything related to the film.
Yeah.
I have no idea why they think that would be.
Well, Wayfarer, they're in the Wayfarer's limine motion.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Of course, Blake Lively's sister would be live. James Vatushka would be live. Aaron Westerman, I don't know who that is. You?
I don't either.
The rest of these people are all live testimony. And I think this one I know is an expert. Jennifer Freed, I know, is the expert on Darvo, and it's disappointing that she would be for sale, but she is. Let's see. Yeah, these are all experts from here down.
Oh yeah.
And this one too. Okay. Yeah. This name Sophia Travaglia sounds familiar, but I don't recall.
But I can't remember why. Related to the film, so I wonder if some of them are like crew.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Well, I can scroll through this really quick and we won't comment too much on it. So just to not spend too much time on it tonight. But Justin will be there, obviously live to testify. Jamie will be live. Melissa, Blake, Adam Monshine, the actor who played the OBGYN in that scene where Blake pretended that she was naked, will be live.
Yes.
Let's see. We got Shasti will be live. Of course, we know. What's that?
Ashmi Dung. Who was that?
I don't remember. I remember the name, but I don't remember. Somebody who worked for Wayfarer, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Let's see. That's Michael Wagner. I don't know who that is. It's an expert. Okay. I know James is an expert as well. This is another expert. Vivian Baker, she's deposition, as we saw. Most of these people are deposition only. Danny Greenberg, Josh Greenstein. Anyone related to Sony is not going to want to show up for this trial. So they're all going to be deposition. Of course, we know Colleen, Alex, as said before. Warren,
she's not even going to show up, huh?
No, of course not. Regarding Lively's request that Hoover unfollow Baldoni on social media, yeah. Warren will also be deposition here. And isn't he her WME agent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. WME has taken this stance that they're supporting Blake in this, and the WME as a whole just bothers me a lot in this whole situation because they dropped Justin, obviously, at the behest of Ryan. And then, you see Diddy beat the shit out of Cassie on camera, and they don't care about that. And so it's like so disingenuous to me for them to put out a statement of support at this point. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone related to WME and Sony, they're not going to be there unless they absolutely have to. So it sounds like they don't. But yeah, that is unfortunately, guys, all I have time for tonight because it's 1:30 a.m. where I'm at. But let me go through some of these real quick. Cindy NYC, thank you for the $5. Just got here coming from Cassidy Party. We are lucky to have brilliant mods in this community. Lauren Omar Cassidy into house. Love it. Thank you very much. K Bella 25, thank you for the 5. In court, you retaliated for what? We can't tell you because it got dismissed and it doesn't matter. AC3553, thank you for the $30.99. I'm too lazy to fill out my details on your fundraising, so I'm doing it here. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Dima, thank you for being a new member. I think you've been a member before, but I appreciate you. And then also for the 5 gifted, thank you very much. And then also CMBBY for those 5 memberships. I appreciate that. I'll try to do something for you guys tomorrow. Fiji009, thank you for the 10. Omar, can any judge stay sane with this crazy volume of evidence sent by Lively, including the frivolous stuff? Is this normal? If not, a reprimand or something else?
Yeah, I don't think it's that difficult for the judge. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Honestly, like the harder job is to be an attorney trying the case. All the judge is there to do is call balls and strikes. That's all they do. Like they take the evidence in as it comes in. They rule on objections. They're not the ones putting on the case. They're just sitting there to observe and call balls and strikes. And so Judge Lyman, he's fine. He I promise you he's not bothered by this. Yes, is it stressful because it's high profile? I'm sure that he's gotten a lot of flack because people don't like him because of his subsequent rulings on this case that had nothing to do with the merits. There's always going to be that pressure because he's the one making these decisions and perceived to be in favor of Lively's case because he's ruled on, some of these smaller motions. But the reality of it is, I don't think that he has that much pressure other than he doesn't have to prepare anything. He's just taking it in as it comes. And so he'll be fine.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening to us tonight, and I'll be back tomorrow at some point after I've slept for a very long time. So I appreciate that. If you guys have anything else you want to end with, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Oh, just everybody be safe out there, man. Try not to.
Don't leave your house.
Yeah. don't
That's my advice. Do not leave the house.
Make sure that you're fully clothed.
Thank you, Rose Quartz Multiverse. Appreciate that. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna take off, but I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Lauren, Cassidy, everybody, y'all take care.
Stay inside. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.